Hi everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and I've got a fun project for you today. So a while ago we did an issue of block that was all dedicated to baby quilts because we all have to make a lot of baby quilts in our lives, and it's one of the things we love. So this is a whole book of ideas, and one of the ideas was this little starlet quilt right here. And it's just a great little quilt, and this is what it looks like in one block right here. So this is the starlet block that you make to make your baby quilt. We had so many requests though from people who wanted to see it big, and so we decided that we would put 4 of these blocks together and make this big quilt right here that you see behind me. And it's just gorgeous, isn't it? So what you're going to need is 1 packet of 10-inch squares, and we have used Viva Terra by Studio E. And we're actually going to be cutting these into 5-inch squares, so charms would work as well. You're going to need some background fabric, 4 yards, and that takes care of all the background. Then this first border, you're also going to need your outer border, which is 1 3/4 yards. And this is a 6.5-inch strip that is unfinished. For your backing, look at this gorgeous backing. I love this. So this backing, you're going to need 8 yards with a vertical seam if you use 45-inch fabric. Now, if you want to use 108, it's only going to be 2 3/4 yards. And so you can decide. This fabric only comes 45. I wanted it on the back because it's gorgeous. So we used a big vertical seam, and you'll need 8 yards for that. Because this makes a big quilt. It's 88 by 88, so it's a pretty big quilt. So this quilt is made from 2 different blocks. They're both super simple. It's just how we put them together that makes it look like you worked so hard. The fabric I used on this quilt is called Viva Terra. It's by Studio E. It's so gorgeous. I love the jewel tones, love the butterflies. It's just really, really fun fabric. So let's start first with the easiest block, or the one I consider to be the easiest, and that's a 9 patch. And basically this is going to be made out of 9 blocks. And I want to show it to you so you can see what we're going for. Now this is a 9 patch, not traditionally what you think about, but it's made with 9 different patches. So all these patches have to be cut into 4.5-inch squares. So when you cut your whites, you're going to cut a strip of 4.5 and subcut those into squares. For your charms, you're just going to have to cut a 1/2 inch off of 2 sides, and I stack them up. You can see right here. I have 3 stacked up right here because I need 3 for this block. And I'm just going to take my little ruler, and it has this little 1/2 inch line right here, and I'm going to line it right along the edge. And I'm going to take that side off, and I'm just going to turn this and take this side off over here. So just a tiny, tiny little bit of extra work there. And then we're going to put this together in a 9 patch. So we're going to put 2 white squares and a colored square. Then the middle row is going to have a white, a color, and a white, like this. And our bottom row will start with the color and end with 2 whites. So we're basically going to sew these together in rows. We're going to sew 1, 2, 3 rows, and then we'll sew the rows together. So I have this one already done here. Super easy, just straight seam sewing. And I'm thinking maybe you want to see me sew a row together. So we'll just do that really quick here. All your rows are going to be the same. You just want to lay it out to make sure you know where you're going, and then sew those rows together. So I am going to what I generally do when I sew a 1/4 inch is I measure where my needle starts with, and where my needle comes down into the hole, and measure over 1/4 to make sure I have a 1/4 inch. There are lines on your sewing machine, but mostly I make sure that my needle is lined up so that I can use the edge of my presser foot, because that makes most sense in my brain. Now on these 9 patch blocks, you just want to remember that every row you're going to press your seams going. One row is going to go one way, the other row is going to go the other, and the other row is going to go the other way. You know what? I'm thinking I'm just going to go ahead and sew this whole thing up so you can see how it works. And because we might have somebody out there who's trying this for the very first time. All right, so this one, the colored square gets a white on either side. Sometimes I forget that everybody doesn't know, can't read my mind. All right, here we go. I got asked a question recently about why I don't backstitch or do back stitch at the beginning of a row. And I don't usually, because in quilting, all rows are enclosed in another row, so you don't have to back stitch. Somebody asked me, one day I back stitched on a square, and somebody asked me why I did that, because I don't usually do that. And actually, it's just a habit. It's just a habit, because I used to be a clothing sewer, and so sometimes I forget and I just back stitch. It doesn't hurt a thing. It doesn't make any difference in the world. It was just just a crazy old habit. All right, so let's iron these. Move this star block down here. I got so much stuff spread around over here. I really am a messy creator. You know, if you ever get to come and see my studio, the only reason it's tidy at all is because I have an assistant who helps me, and she kind of picks up after me. When I asked her if she was okay with cleaning up after me, she said she had a 2-year-old, so it worked. And that's exactly how I feel sometimes. I'm like, could somebody just clean up after me? I'm a messy creator. All right, so now we're going to put this together this way, and this way. All right, so look at this block over here, and you'll see it's exactly opposite. Does it matter? No, because you can just flip the block, rotate it, and it's going to be the same. So we're just going to go ahead and sew it together. You just want to make sure that as you sew them, that one of your blocks, that your 2 top and bottom blocks are on opposite corners of that middle. And then we can turn it any direction that we want. And again, I'm watching my seams so that they nest, which means one seam is going one direction and one's going the other. Oops, I'm caught right here on my little foot. There we go. And then we'll add this top one. And again, we just have to make sure that this goes the opposite so it runs in a line. Then we're going to sew 1/4 inch right down the side. Make sure your seams nest up. So I always get started a few inches. It gives me a little anchoring, and then I make those other seams go the way I want to. And I generally sew to that point, then I lock up my next seam, and I can feel if there's any fabric in between. Now, if you have any trouble getting those seams to line up, you can pin them. Alrighty, let's press this open. And this is our first block, and I'll show you where it goes in the quilt. So you can see right here, these corners right here, this is this block. It's interesting to see. So look, see where this goes right here? So it's always a little interesting to me when you see a whole quilt together and you don't realize where that block's going to fit. So it's going to go on all 4 corners, and we're just going to turn them so they go in like this. So for each block, you need 4 of these big blocks. That's for each block. All right, so now we have these together, and I have a little pile of them so I can show you how to lay it out later. And then the next block is all made up of half square triangles. So let me show you how we did that. What we did, and again, our blocks are going to end up 4.5. So for this, you leave the 5-inch square hole, and you put a 5-inch square background square on it, and you have drawn a line side to side. Now we're going to sew 1/4 inch on either side of that line, and when we cut these apart, they'll be 4.5. So we're going to go and just make sure again that you know where your 1/4 inch is. And if you line it up with your needle, if you line your needle up, so some machines, I guess I better explain this. Some machines have a little button where you can move your needle back and forth. And that's what I do. I move my needle so that my needle lines up with the edge of my foot. So I always, no matter what foot it is, I can use this edge. Now there are 1/4 inch feet out there and all kinds of things to help you, and that's great. But I just make mine line up with the edge of my presser foot, and that works for me. All right. So now we've sewn on either side of this line, and I'm going to go ahead and take my little ruler, lay it on here corner to corner, and make that cut, and then we're going to press these open. All right, I'm going to go ahead and set my seams. Setting the seam just relaxes the thread. I don't know why, but it really helps it lay nicer. All right, so now we have our 2 flying geese. Now let's take a look at our block and see how these are going to go. Because this is our big block right here. These are our corner blocks. And we're going to make this block right here, which comes on all 4 sides right here like this, see? And so these are just flying geese, but they're sewn with the white sides together, just like this. So we're going to take 2 of these, and I'm going to mix these up. I should have another one here that has a single. And we're going to put these 2 colors together like this. So we are sewing the white fabrics together, laying them right on top of each other, and sewing 1/4 inch down the side. All right, now we're going to press these open. And it's going to give us a unit that looks just like this, just like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to sew 3 of those together and make this unit right here. We're going to make 4 of those. So we have them right here, 1, 2, 3, 4. We've done that 4 times. Then our little center block, the way it comes together, is this block right here. So the center block is made like this. So basically it's the same 2 blocks, our same 2 half square triangles right here, like this. And we're putting them together like this. And that's our little center block, our one little center block. Exactly the same as the flying geese, just put together like this. So let me show you how this thing assembles. So we're going to have one big block right here. And you'll notice on our block out here, our colors go from out to in, okay? Right here, out to in. This is actually, I touched this out here, but this is the sashing row. So it goes from out to in on all 4 sides. So we're going to put this like this. And we're going to put one of these flying geese units right in the middle. And our flying geese units are all going to run toward the center. So see how they come this way toward the center, okay? Now this is one row, and then our middle row is going to be this one that's right here, like this. And then we're going to put 2 more of our flying geese units in this way, just like that. Got that row? We're going to push it up a little bit, and then our bottom row down here does the same thing, where we're going to have this one going in and this one going in over here, and then our last flying geese unit right here. I have so many pieces. All right, here's where that one is, just like that. And that makes our block. So it's just this easy 9 patch, the little half square triangle flying geese blocks, and this makes our block. Then we put them together with a giant sashing. So here's our big piece of sashing right here along the edges. Look how big that is. So measure the size of your block. This is the size of your sashing. And we're adding another 4.5 inch corner in our block of solid. So as the block comes out here, see how the sashing makes it look like this block now has 4, because we put our sashing block in and our cornerstone. The cornerstone and the sashing are both 4.5 inches wide. So this is going to be 4.5 inches square, and you just put a big one on there, and we've got 4 big blocks. And it just makes this amazing quilt. I think it looks awesome. So our little quilt is called Starlit. So we're calling this one Star-Crossed, and we hope you enjoyed this tutorial from the Missouri Star Quilt Company.